Like pixels on a screen, these are the games of our lives. Our ravenous fans demanded it, so we're back. This is the Games of Our Lives with Mike and Chris, your only source for two straight white dudes talking about video games. Joining me again this week, like it's any surprise, Mike.
How's it going, Chris?
It is heating up in Southern Maryland, finally, I guess. Not looking forward to the summer, the hot, sweaty summer.
Yeah, I had a bit of a shock. I've been in West Texas this week, so sort of jump-started the seasons.
It's a dry rub, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, Mike, you've been working this week, but did you have a chance to play any games?
I did, actually. Inspired by last week, I went back and I started playing Bayonetta 2.
Interesting, because neither of us own a Wii U, but you have access to one.
Right, I'm borrowing a Wii U, and of all the possibilities and Smash and Mario Karts and as such, Bayonetta 2 is kind of what I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of footage of it. It seems interesting, but I probably never buy a Wii U, so...
Well, it's certainly not worth buying the console for, but probably the funniest thing is when you first load up the game and it runs through kind of the credits, there's a taxi cab that has the Sega logo on it, and then it's a billboard that has the Nintendo logo on it, and it kind of made me feel a little nauseous just to see the two so close together.
That weird juxtaposition.
It just felt wrong. It was wrong.
You just started screaming, Genesis does what Nintendo don't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if Sonic were alive today, what would he think about that?
Well, he'd probably be dead. Because, hedgehogs actually don't live that long. And he's been dead in the game since, Sonic CD?
Oh man, I must have missed that subtext. So, so Bayonetta 2, it's a great game, although I kind of want to go back to what I said last week, where I said Hotline Miami 2 might be the most embarrassing game for someone to walk in on you playing. I think it might be Bayonetta 2.
Yeah, there's not a lot of subtext, I guess, is the thing.
No, so the first, the opening camera pan of the game is to the main character's vagina. And, I mean, there's no other way of sugarcoating it. It's to call it fan service is a disservice to the phrase fan service. Right, and the gameplay's great. I mean, I love that kind of twitchy, I guess, Devil May Cry-ish. I mean, that's sort of the genre I consider it. It's very well done, and then you get to the cutscenes and you cringe, and it's sort of this is everything that's kind of wrong about video games, but, I'm pretty sure they'll let me button mash and kill angels in 5 minutes, so I'll just bear it.
And then whip them and put them in a guillotine thingy and punish them.
Yes, these are all things that happen in this game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you enjoy that game, if you haven't played the first Bayonetta, they actually did, I think, if you buy Bayonetta 2, it comes with the original Bayonetta, which is kind of an amazing deal, and it would be really cool if more games did that.
Yeah, I picked up a copy of the original for PlayStation at some point. I think I'm somewhere in the first or the second chapter, so. The
other option, I was looking, if the Steam sales, a lot of times the Capcom games go really cheap, and the Devil May Cry series, the latest Devil May Cry, maybe it's just called DMC, that'll drop to, I think, under $5 now.
Yeah, there's the new edition that's come out for the new the next gen consoles, and they are also remastering Devil May Cry 4, which a lot of people really liked. So.
I didn't even realize that, but
yeah, it's being worked on now. I don't know about the others, but the new edition of DMC, the most recent one, and Devil May Cry 4, are out, if not coming out soon.
Oh, okay. So the DMC with the edgier Dante, he has short hair this time, and it's not white.
Yeah. Oh God. Have you seen the one of the early cutscenes where a mop falls on his head and he looks at him and he's like, "Yeah, right."
That's a spot on Dante, by the way. And yes, I have seen that scene. Actually, if this is getting a little off track, but the DMC has maybe the worst cutscene ever. It's maybe about a third of the way through the game. You fight a boss monster, and you know a lot in Devil May Cry. You always need wisecracks with Dante and the boss. But for this one, you're fighting. I'm really not exaggerating here. It's the Slurm monster.
It's just the slug that produces Slurm.
It is. No, like that. I mean, you're like, haha. No. That's exactly what this character is. It's a slug that produces this energy drink that brainwashes people.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, this slug thing only... Or can we curse on here?
No, go for it.
Oh, great. So
who gives a shit?
The slug will... Everything it says is a variation of fuck you. And right. I'm not exaggerating. You think like, oh, haha. No, this is true. Someone on YouTube made a very low quality kind of cut, like supercut of just the dialogue of it. And it's maybe the worst thing ever put in a video game, but I can't recommend it enough. If you're a fan, and I know you're a fan, Chris.
Oh yeah.
So bad it's good. That is exactly the new DMC, the new Devil May Cry.
For my own part, this week I finally wrapped up Dragon Age Inquisition. Clocked in at just about 90 hours. And I did. I want to say like a 95% of the game content.
So how invested were you in the first two Dragon Ages?
I've played the first Dragon Age a couple of times. It's pretty good. And I've never been able to finish Dragon Age 2.
Is that just because you didn't like it, or stuff happened in your life?
A little bit of both, probably. When I originally started it, I think I got about halfway through, and then just other stuff came up. The combat, Dragon Age 2 really isn't that great. It wasn't executed very well. It didn't look great. The characters were really annoying, and the dialogue was sort of bland, and the combat was also boring.
That's the worst thing you can say about a Bethesda game generally.
Bethesda didn't make it, so...
Oh, BioWare! Yeah. No. Cancel everything.
We'll just start the podcast over.
Yeah, seriously. They start with a B.
Okay. I'll give you that. I will give you that. But they took the best parts of Dragon Age 2 and included it in Inquisition. The sort of the real-time action-y combat is there. There's they included like the way that the game controls. They ported over from the console versions of Dragon Age 2 to the PC. So like you can play it with a controller much better than you can with a mouse and keyboard. At least I think. But
so you're happy with what Blizzard did with the game?
Yeah, no, they did it. I enjoyed it. As I said, I put way too much time into it. You don't have to put 90 hours into it to get the full experience. In fact, I went a little overboard. There's a lot of the side content is incredibly repetitive for such a massive game. But I mean, it's the main quests and like the party quests are in particular are very well written, very well executed. A majority of my gripes with the game are mechanical in nature. Like the character animation is not great. The cutscene animation is very choppy. The game itself looks wonderful, but like the cutscenes don't really hold up that well to scrutiny. And for whatever my opinion is worth, I think the game handles like issues of sexuality and gender and even religion like way better than you might expect from a AAA game being published by EA. I mean, granted, that's kind of BioWare's bread and butter, but it's good to see that they're sort of continuing that, even though a majority of like the people you associate with BioWare are no longer there.
Right. So, does it leave it open? I mean, are you all back in now to Dragon Age? You're gonna be into the next one?
I mean, there's a lot of the ending really fell flat for me. It was kind of maybe it was just because I was super over leveled, but like there will be another one, I'm certain, because the game won a lot of Game of the Year awards, and they had a post credits sequence with some of the characters.
Shepard will return.
Yeah, I don't know, like, if it will be a direct sequel or just another game in the universe, but I think, like, it was a giant tonal shift from Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2, just as far as, like, what the game is even about. That I found it compelling and interesting. They found a very, like, good way to incorporate, sort of every kind of character you would want to create. I just think the game's pretty well executed. If you liked the first and second games, if you like the second game, well, good for you. There's a lot here, but it's not for somebody who does not have a lot of time. I mean, because you probably have to put 60 hours into the game just because of the way that they gate the story quests.
That's a tough investment these days, but I think it's for RPGs. I don't know. Generally, that seems to be about the standard.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't find myself with a lot of time to play those anymore. Like, for me, my favorite game of last year was Shadow of Mordor, partially because I was able to 100% the game in like 20 hours.
That's like a nice sweet spot, I think.
Yeah, it stayed good long enough, and it didn't get boring. So there was a lot of well-written, good content in the game because they drew from, BioWare is a pretty big studio, so they had a lot of different teams working on it. But I mean, the most compelling stuff is sort of gated behind these arbitrary, basically meters you have to fill up by doing side content, which is not as compelling.
Battle readiness.
Essentially, yes. Yeah, but like the set piece story missions are really, really good. I mean, they kind of make the game. So
No, that's good to hear. You playing anything else?
I dipped, pursuant to our last podcast, I did dip back into Deus Ex. I've been sort of tooling around the first hub world, and that game held up really well. I'm like 4 years old now. Yeah, that game holds up real well.
I'll tell you what game did not hold up well: the original Deus Ex.
I don't think I've ever finished it. I've started it a number of times.
If you go back now, I mean, I remember thinking very highly of the graphics at the time, but I also remember going back somewhat recently and being like, this must be a different Deus Ex.
Have you been looking forward to playing anything?
Well, I mentioned Killing Floor 2 comes out this week. And I know we talked about it last week. I was looking up release schedule, and something caught my eye was Tea Party Simulator. Which is not about political protests, much to my disappointment, but is actually one of the Surgeon Simulator games where your goal is to actually organize and run a tea party.
Oh, really? I'm guessing it has the same wacky controls.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know if you played the Surgeon Simulator at all.
I've certainly seen it played. I don't think I have not booted it up myself.
It's fun. It does not, to me, seem to say like, well, I need to see this in more genres. Like, it's a fun distraction. I guess if you get good at it, then it's something you kind of would want to show off in different formats. Is
it made by the same people?
It looks identical, and it has the same font as the Surgeon Simulator, Goat Simulator, stuff like that.
It's like a puzzle game, but the puzzle is figuring out the controls.
Right, and I mean, that's a genre in and of itself, right? Like games like QWOP.
I guess. Yeah.
Well, I remember this is going. People were saying, Resident Evil would be so easy if you could strafe. I don't know if you remember these conversations. And it's
No.
like, because this is back, your character moves like a tank, so you move back and forth, and then when you go left and right, you spin your character left and right.
Oh yeah.
And also, you had the fixed cameras when you changed rooms. And people, I remember reading complaints about like, oh, the control scheme, like the game's so hard. You know, if you could just had these other control schemes, it would be easier. And of course, if you had these other control schemes, it would be a different game.
Yeah, I think that seems like it's part of the I don't play survival horror games. I don't play horror games or do horror stuff in general because it affects me way too much. But it contributes to the atmosphere, this sort of lack of control. Anyway, a game came out this week that I've been hearing about for a while, called Titan Souls. Now, you may think with a name like that it shares a pedigree with other Souls games, Dark Souls 2, Demon Souls, and it kind of does. Well, the entire game it's a 2D sort of top-down pixelated art style game where you're an archer dude and you have one arrow and you just go around fighting bosses essentially with your one arrow and you die in one hit. There's no other mobs in the game. There's just like 18, 19, 20 bosses that you go fight. And they're all different. They're all like designed encounters.
So it's Shadow of the Colossus meets Souls, I guess. That's where the name came from.
I guess so. I mean, that certainly seems like an apt combination descriptor. But yeah, I've been hearing about it for a while. It's come out this week. I think there's a free demo that you can play on Steam that has like the first area. It looks beautiful. The mechanics look very tight, so I'm interested in checking that out at some point. Other than that, I think now that I'm finished with Dragon Age, I can sort of throw my time at some other RPGs that are on my list. I'm particularly interested in getting back into Persona 3 and then playing Persona 4. I have a Persona 3 save that I've been working on for like 4 years now. Slowly.
I can't. I don't know about you. Once I put down a game and step away, it's extremely difficult for me to just come back in.
I don't know. I have that weird ADD where I can sort of pick it right back up again. Those are 100-hour plus games each. So
that's funny. That's funny because I'd say I'm the opposite. I'm more willing to go back and pick up like a Twitch game than I am an RPG.
I mean, those sort of pick up and play games, they're sort of eternal. I have a bunch of games that I just sort of go back to with some regularity. Stuff like Civ 5, even though that's not really a Twitch game.
The ultimate Twitch game.
And like Nuclear Throne and Luftrausers and stuff like that. They're just. I
still have that last achievement for Luftrausers. Haven't gotten it.
Yeah, I've not booted that one up in a while.
It makes me sad.
Yeah, it's a wonderful game.
So speaking of Tony Hawk, you saw the announcement?
Yeah, well,
announcement in quotation marks,
quote unquote. If you haven't heard, a caterer for a party hosted by Activision / Tony Hawk revealed they showed us in the picture that the dude took was a projector that was projecting a screen that had a stylized logo for Tony Hawk 5 on it. And I got really, really, really excited because I love those games, the Pro Skater games specifically. And I think those are wonderful games that I think are sort of universally enjoyed entirely for their mechanics because they play so very well. Nobody cares about the skaters that are in it. Nobody cares about what environments you're in, other than the fact that you're doing rad tricks in them. But yeah, Activision has sort of confirmed that everybody's known for a while. They've been saying for a while that they're making another one. They just sort of haven't given any details about like what it's going to be like. Is it going to be more like Pro Skater or Underground or that weird Project 8 game?
Well, I mean, I know it's a shocker. Activision's making a sequel to a successful franchise, but my money's on freemium.
Oh, I hope not. I hope like what I want is like Tony Hawk 4 plus 1. You know?
Right, and I think that's kind of what everyone wants, right? But we'll see. We'll see if they're like, oh, what if we do that, but it's on the Kinect?
Ugh. No, I don't think so. I think that the Kinect is dead, and they probably will not be making another plastic skateboard. Because that did not.
That's probably true.
That didn't go very well.
No, and they basically announced the next Guitar Hero. Speaking of Activision and plastic instruments,
that was something that I wanted to talk to you specifically about because you are the biggest Rock Band guy I know. Is how do you feel about the new Guitar Hero?
I mean, I was kind of done with Guitar Hero after Harmonix left it. I did buy him just because they signed some exclusive with bands, stuff like Tool. I'm like, well, I have to try that. So I mean, it's. At this point, the live music genre has been gone for so long. I'm not. It used to be an us versus them, right? Like either you're a Rock Band guy or a Guitar Hero guy.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I don't really. There's no real animosity anymore, right? It's silly to say, oh, screw Guitar Hero.
Well, I think they're doing some interesting stuff, and they're definitely taking it in a different direction, which I think is great. They are no longer trying to compete on the same scale as Rock Band 4 will.
Right, and I saw they're doing the guitar pick differently to make it a little more representative of an actual guitar. To which, of course, I say if you're buying that because you want to get the full impression, then you should probably invest in Rocksmith for, I think, PlayStation, or that's out for PC as well.
Yeah, and just play with a real guitar.
It's a very good approximation of playing with a guitar.
Well, yeah, it's just I think that what they're trying to do is to have this sort of singular experience for somebody who doesn't have 3 other friends or, 1,000 songs saved to the hard drive of their Xbox 360.
I don't know who you're talking about. I must be talking about some other Mike on this podcast.
I must be talking about some other Mike who has the Pro drum kit.
Oh, the Ion drum kit, yeah.
Yeah, no. Whereas Rock Band 4 is just sort of like another Rock Band because they wanted to make sure that the DLC was able to transfer up and that you could use all of your existing instruments. The new Guitar Hero seems like they're just sort of rebooting the franchise, and they're doing a lot of interesting stuff with like the controller. I mean, as you said, it's a different like layout where you've got 3 frets with 6 total buttons. There's like an upper side and a lower side for each fret. So it's.
I mean, I hope it works. Like I hope they're all successful. I love the genre.
They're sort of taking it in a Just Dance direction where you sort of buy the platform, you buy the controller, get the game, you've got all of that single player content, and then you can sort of, I guess, probably a la carte buy into their sort of DLC library, which is going to be music videos instead of the live recording stuff. And
I saw the Guitar Hero is being made by the developers of a DJ Hero and DJ Hero 2.
Yeah.
Which is sort of the antithesis of like needless plastic instruments. But that being said, DJ Hero is a great game if you've ever played it.
I have not.
It's a ton of fun. It's pretty much like Amplitude, where you have just 3 tracks. It's sort of like Amplitude meets Simon or like Bop It. And they're great games. I don't know if you still find them in a store. They're super cheap just because they want to get rid of them.
Yeah, because they're big plastic hunks of stuff.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, have you ever worked in a video game store? You grew to hate those games. but I'll wholeheartedly recommend DJ Hero. That was a great game, and people were it came out with the worst of like Fatigue, the music rhythm genre,
the plastic
instrument.
instrument fatigue zone.
Yeah, the bubble.
Yeah, it had definitely burst by that point.
But if you do find it, I do recommend trying it out. I don't know if I can say the same about the GameCube bongos.
The Donkey Kongos or whatever.
Donkey Konga, yeah, which I also have a set.
Did you buy the mariachi game for Dreamcast?
Oh, I wish.
Samba de Amigo?
No, I do have Guitar Man though for that's PS2 though. And that does not have a plastic controller. Like if they ever came out with like the taiko drummer, I probably would have bought that too.
I thought that came out in the US.
Not like an instrument, did it?
I don't know. Maybe just because we used to talk about taiko drumming, the taiko drummer game so often in college, I hallucinated that it came out. I could be wrong.
I don't know. I'll go to eBay. I'll see what I can find.
Well, I'm sure you can find one. Just not maybe one in English.
Find the actual arcade console.
Yeah, that's some crazy stuff. Well, we've been rambling long enough, I think. All right. Anyway, when you're hearing this, there is a new episode of the Urquan Masters on the channel. Go ahead and check that out. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and listen to our first episode. Have a safe trip home, Michael.
Thanks. Hopefully Dallas will not be encased in the solid sheet of ice this time.
You know what? I think you'll be safe. I'm not going to make any promises because it was snowing in Denver, but
actually, funny you mention it. I recently changed my flight and now I go back through Denver.
Great.
I am dead serious.
You are cursed. You're cursed. Anyway, that's been the Games of Our Lives, episode 2. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time. Oof, that was a rambler. Thanks for watching. Check out some of the other videos on the left there. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more. If you have any feedback for me, let me know in the comments. See you next time. Well, we've been rambling long enough, I think.
Yeah, this was a long one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to cut out a lot of me saying like a lot, because I did that a lot.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, feel free to edit whatever. I mean, I said a lot of really nasty stuff about the Jews, so if you wouldn't mind just editing that part out, I'd really appreciate it.
Well, now I have to leave it in because we talked about it.